Hi, I'm Carter Clews. Welcome to a special edition of Inside Judicial Watch. This is a news brief about a subject that I know many of our viewers, many of our supporters are very concerned about, the Mueller indictment of Paul Manafort, what it portends for the Trump administration, for the operation of government in general, and the various lawsuits in which Judicial Watch has taken the lead surrounding this indictment. And I am fortunate to have with us today the Director of Public Affairs for Judicial Watch, in essence, the news director, and that is Jill Farrell. Jill, welcome to Inside Judicial Watch.
Hi, Carter. Nice to be here today. Thank you very much.
It is great to have you here. So let me start out by what has been something I know that our viewers are wondering about. What has been Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch, what has been his reaction to the Mueller indictment at this point?
Well, the entire Mueller investigation, I think, can be summed up by calling a spade a spade. Hey, Mueller is the ultimate swamp creature.
Exactly.
He's been around Washington since 2001. He was director of the FBI from 2001 to 2013, and in that time, things like the Uranium One deal went down, and that was under his watch.
That was under his watch, and then I think his stay was extended by Barack Obama, right?
Correct.
So essentially he was an Obama appointee.
And the entire DOJ, I think it's been our experience, has been, our observation is that it was politically weaponized under the Obama administration. So everything from Hillary Clinton's emails and hiding them from the public.
The cover-up
that continues. We were recently told that it won't be until 2020, possibly, that we see the end of Hillary's emails. And that's if we don't contest any of the withheld documents. If we go ahead and look at some of the withheld documents and say, we would like to see them. Let's see them, or at least let the court see them in camera, in private. If we take that road, it would be years after 2020, potentially.
And tens of thousands of employees at the State Department, and they can't find time to go through the emails. Pretty remarkable. And that was pretty much put together by Mr. Mueller. Now he's indicted Paul Manafort. And let me, before we say Tom's reaction, I want to put it in perspective from my perspective, if I may. The man was put into place, appointed months and months and months ago. What, 6 months, you think, or so now? Do you think it's been that long?
It's been about that long.
About that long. Has probably spent tens of millions of dollars, hired at least 20 high-priced lawyers, used up tax dollars, and his job was to investigate some sort of alleged connection between the Trump campaign,
and
Russia. So now he has come forward with trumpets blaring to indict Paul Manafort on tax charges. So essentially, I was hired to drive the car, and instead I decided to cut the lawn. Lawn may have needed cutting, but not what I was hired to do.
Correct.
And that's what Mr. Mueller has done here.
Yes, he had a certain tasking, and he's gone above and beyond. And his boss, who appointed him, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, is apparently constitutionally oblivious.
Has done nothing.
Reining him in.
Has not said anything to him about, wait a minute, what are you doing? What are you doing with all these people? What are you doing spending all this money? And after all that, you have a tax charge? I think there's a couple blocks away, Mr. Mueller, there's this organization called Internal Revenue Service. If there's tax problems...
That's what their job is. That's exactly
their job. That's their job.
And I think people are trying to look at the Manafort indictment and make a lot of ado about that, but meanwhile they're forgetting that Manafort worked for the Podesta Group for years.
Precisely.
Prior to working...
Podesta, who was Hillary's campaign manager. Let's set the record straight here.
Tony Podesta ran Podesta Group,
right,
and he is the brother of John Podesta.
Okay.
And John was the one who was former chief of staff for the Clinton White House,
right,
and senior advisor to President Barack Obama, as well as Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. So if those guys didn't have pull at the Obama administration, no one did.
Swimming in the swamp.
Swimming in the swamp.
Right.
So we're doing the backstroke.
Doing the backstroke together in the swamp, and now we have this indictment that has nothing to do with what the man was hired to do, or maybe maybe we're looking at something where he's trying to build a case and come in the back door Trump, but you know what? These are tax dollars. This is, the Bible says something about we wrestle not against men, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. And sometimes you just get that feeling. Let's go back. Let's go back. And one of the areas in which maybe Trump or Mueller maybe should look at, because it's all tied in, is the uranium deal, the Hillary Clinton uranium deal.
In 2010, Russian atomic energy company Rosatom was allowed to take control of 1/5 of America's uranium reserves.
And who was the person who really was instrumental in getting them, in enabling them to take control of 1/5 of the uranium reserves?
Well, essentially, the Secretary of State at the time, who was Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton. And let me read you, going back all the way to 2008, and I know you're very familiar with this. Judicial Watch Corruption Chronicles, 2008. Folks, when you're watching Judicial Watch, you're watching those who are watching everything. Let me read this to you, if I may, very briefly. Bill Clinton advocated for an oppressive communist leader known for human rights violations, corruption, and election fraud to help a Vancouver businessman get uranium in return. And in return, the multimillionaire cut a hefty check to
the Clinton Foundation.
The Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation. That's how far this goes, how far back this goes, and how deeply involved in exposing it Judicial Watch has been.
Correct.
So now I think there is at least tangentially a Mueller tie here, isn't there? Wasn't he when a lot of this uranium trading was going on, this selling of uranium rights to Russia was going on?
He was director of the FBI.
He was director of the FBI.
And gave everyone a pass.
Gave everyone a pass. So
there was no investigation launched?
A deal cut. The big uranium, 1/5 of the uranium goes to Russia. The Clinton Foundation gets millions of millions, tens of millions of dollars. And the FBI director, Mr. Mueller, who now is running around, running amok, finding anything he can on Trump associates.
He's just pulling on threads, I think, right now, because he was so close to being shut down. The calls were getting so widespread for the investigation just to be shut down. It wasn't properly supervised. They were overhiring and tending to, from reports that I've read, that they were hiring from largely a Democratic-leaning group of people.
Exactly.
Which, added a little aroma of maybe not terribly fair.
Right. And last week, the Wall Street Journal, an editorial called for his resignation, if I recall. And last week, the uranium story broke last week, and lo and behold, this week, he comes up with indictments to knock it off page 1.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. We're thinking the same thing, that he needed to have this grand jury now in order to entrench himself. One more story, because they're all interrelated, and they all are part and parcel of what Mr. Mueller is doing. The dossier really is what started this whole business, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. And just recently we found out that the same law firm that the Clinton campaign used to pay off Fusion GPS is the same law firm the Obama administration, the Obama campaign, also used that same law firm to pay for information from Fusion GPS.
And once again, if I may toot our own horn, May 16, 2017, Jill put out the news release saying Judicial Watch sues for FBI records on UK Trump dossier. So once again, ahead of the story, and in short, so if you want to know what's going on ahead of everybody else, you want to get have the advanced knowledge, go to judicialwatch.org, and Jill will make sure the information's there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
And thank you for joining us in this special news brief from Inside Judicial Watch.